Hello. Today is day 31st of August, but day 30 of this experiment, 30 out of 30. But I'm gonna keep it going like 2 or 3 more days because I missed 2 or 3 days. So I'm gonna keep it going like for a little bit more. So you see, guys, I'm gonna be talking to you more. And actually, I like this kind of format, like more raw, but I think I will be slowing down a bit of frequency, not every day, but maybe let's see what I think about that. At least once a week I think it's good, but maybe a little bit more. But let's see what I think next week. I'm gonna keep it going a little bit, few more days, and then later I'll readjust the strategy, because I think when I'm in flow, like actually right now it's quite natural, and I connect, and I receive few comments, so I think it's resonating to some level to some people. Even if it's just one person, it's okay for me. It's like actually the act of creation is what gives me pleasure, and then obviously seeing that it resonates, it gives me more happiness. But it's a plus, it's this thing when you are a creative or a creator, you actually need to do it for yourself first. And although it may think like, okay, this is selfish, being selfish, like what mainstream selfish. Yeah, 1 second. Someone with loud music, actually. But yes, what we think about this selfish, as people understand it, is like, oh, it's not good. But actually, for a creative, they need to, or myself, we need to tune in, like to our own internal, ideas, fears, experiences. We need to actually connect to be able to connect with others. So we need to really be vulnerable and actually digging within ourselves, not that much thinking about the audience, because if we think too much about the audience, it's kind of the business mindset, it's like customer, like with your target audience, all of these things, and that is great, don't get me wrong, but I think I am doing this, or at least I will be doing this, or I'm doing this at the moment while I'm building my website. I'm doing this as I go, as I create, I'm understanding what are the people that are gonna be like touched by my content. But at first you need to actually be focusing on you a lot, because this is the essence of an artist, of our creative, is actually the way we connect. If you are, this is something, and like in music we say things like this a lot. It's like when someone plays the piano, song written by one of the greatest, Beethoven or Bach, or leads and things like that. You can play it plain. You can play it like, okay, I've heard that song. But then there is another person that can play the same song, and it's just so moving. You can feel it. You can feel how they are feeling. You can feel the different, vibratos, like vibrations of the, of the keys in the piano, or I don't know, it's just a totally different experience. And actually I experienced this when playing the piano, when I truly liked the song and I was in flow and I was connected, because guys, I'm a pianist. I don't know if you know that, but that's why I've been so connected to creativity and art since forever, to be honest. Although I'm an engineer, I've always been like the morning engineer, in the evening musician. So these two parts of our brain that I normally talk about. So what I was saying, like when you are in a piano, playing a piano song, or even dancing, in a club, like a more, general experience. You are dancing or you are feeling the vibes of music. But when a song really, hits you deeply, you connect to that song, you I don't know, you feel something inside of you. It moves you, or you remember different things, and something clicks inside of you and you vibe differently, you actually connect, or this gets projected to the audience. So this is actually the main trick, and it's not a trick, like we don't strategize this, but the main thing for an artist is not to focus on the audience. This also is very clear when a singer creates their first albums or their first things, and it's all like very raw, very vulnerable. They are great, but then when it comes to the music industry, then it comes like many people involved in the business, and many, it's like, imagine right now I'm just talking to a camera myself, raw unedited videos, but then if I had a bigger company and people like depending on me and the performance of these videos, it would become a little bit more of a machine, which I understand because people's lives, I'm gonna put this in, people's lives and salaries, or they depend on it. But at the same time, when you have this big machine or these big singers like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, these kind of things, they need to really have some alone time and focusing on themselves to create their songs, to connect with themselves. Because if you don't do that and you just get carried away by all the needs of people, all the wants people, the wants, the needs that people want you to do, or requirements, anything like it may be good, all strategies. If you hear to so many noises and opinions, it's gonna be like too noisy in your mind, that you are not gonna create from a place of like connection and heart and intuition and vulnerability. So you need to keep this in mind, and that's why I think it's very good not to be viral overnight. Obviously I'm not saying I don't want to be viral, why not, but I'm trusting the timing, in a sense, like I think when I come to like serve a bigger audience, I want to be like mentally ready, and I want to be like in a place that I can sustain it and handle it without losing my creative spark, without losing my connection with myself, because this selfishness, is the key to being an artist, a creator. Because when you are so selfish in a sense, like looking within, working on you, listening to your intuition, maybe journaling a lot, understanding your feels, expressing yourself, this is when you serve the most to the world. And that is a misunderstanding. People may think like, you're so selfish. Yeah, well, actually, me being focusing on me, and this applies to self-development and all of these things, when you focus on your self-care and stuff and self-love, from this sense, like when you learn how to love yourself, boundaries and everything, you are actually learning how to love others in the right way. So all of this selfishness, then of course I'm not saying like things that harm people, or or being neglecting people around because you're selfish ego. No, I'm not talking about ego here. I'm talking about caring for your energy, for your soul, caring for your vulnerability, connection with yourself, and all of this selfishness in this way, healthy selfishness, let's call it this way, it actually becomes selfless. It becomes part of consciousness in the world. It becomes maybe the key for someone else. It becomes the guide, the survival guide for someone else. It becomes the song that they can relate the most when they are down. It becomes the piece of content that changes them, like something within themselves, that they change their mindset. When you're really vulnerable and you're talking about your struggles with a friend, and you think you are being like yapping around, and this happened to me as well, like you could overthink like, okay, I'm talking, oversharing too much. Maybe that person that is listening, I mean, to an extent, I'm not saying like just monopolize the conversation, but maybe when you're oversharing, you are making that person feel seen in a way, because maybe they had a struggle internally that they can't relate to what you are oversharing. So sometimes being vulnerable can really make you, sometimes no, most of the times, connection. And this is what creativity does. You need to really be focusing on your craft to be able to be a service, to be of service for the world, and to, really connect and really be selfless in a way. Because, to be honest, I mean, for me it's not easy anymore to put like a facade and not be creative. It's not. But I consider like, living as an artist, well, for me it's easy because I live this way, but what I mean is like making a living, earning a consistent salary, let's put it this way. Being as an artist, I think it's harder than a conventional job, because you are relying on whether or not people will connect with your vulnerability, with your ideas, things. It's much more in a raw place. people who judge someone for sharing on social media, but they would be so afraid to share themselves. So it's really powerful empowerment, but also vulnerable place. And if you just put a facade because we all have this creativity side. What I mean is you just put a facade, do your 9 to 5, come home and stuff. It's safer. And this is what I do as well. It's I'm not demonizing or anything. I like safety, I like comfort, and it gives me structure and stability, which is amazing for my mind. But it's not about what is best or worse, but we cannot say being an artist is selfish actually, because it's hard time, hard job, and it's the most fulfilling, because you are expressing yourself and you are being understood, but at the same time you are exposing yourself, so don't diminish that and don't call it selfish, because we need that. We need, as there was a film saying there is the Poets Society film, I think it's his name, saying obviously we need lawyers, we need doctors, we need builders, but we crave for art, we crave for poetry, for music, for dance, because that's the way we connect as humans, and we need that. So never dismiss or underestimate the work of an artist, guys. And see you tomorrow. I think I've been quite in flow. People passing by and I didn't give any of thought. So we're getting better, manifesting the YouTuber that I am already. Bye, guys.